Welcome back to another video. Before we get into this video, there's something I really want to show you, and I do excuse, both cars are really dirty, but there's something I want to show you guys. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it, but if you're like me and you wear jeans all the time, you might see the color of your jeans transfer over to the seats. The product I use is an Chemical Guys all-purpose cleaner and degreaser. And this works really well. I'm sure there are other products that work just as well, if not better, but this is what works for me, and I wanted to show you guys. Put some on the affected area and take a clean rag and then just wipe it off. Took off all the blue color from my jeans. Pretty pleased. And now it would be a disservice not to do a cold start, and you can probably guess which car I'm doing a cold start on. I hope this mic picks it up better than my last one. Now let's head out and continue this video. So this video is going to be a continuation of my last video in which I showed how to change the vehicle settings in the infotainment system, and a lot of you guys found that really helpful, so I just wanted to follow up with another video telling more features and more settings that I have changed. They're not by any means an absolute must do, but that's how I prefer to do them. You can choose different settings based on your preferences. So the first thing I'm going to go over is not mostly in the infotainment screen, but rather the cluster screen and how I customize it and how you could based on your preferences. So the first thing is the heads-up display. I don't know how well you can see, but I wanted to show you this button down here. You can move it up or down. The other one is the info, where you can change what you want to see. So this one is mostly like a track, so the top shows bars for your RPMs, your speed, and the gear you're in. The second one shows you your direction and your speed. The third one is just your speed and your gear. I believe that one also shows your speed limit, but I'm in a parking lot, there is no speed limit, so that was blank. This is what I like to keep it at. This shows the lateral and forward, also your gear, your speed, as well as your RPMs. This is pretty similar to what the sports mode have on the inside gauge. It's pretty similar to that. I like it to keep it at that. That's what I keep it on my Z mode, and as well as on my mode right there. The last setting is going to be the brightness. You can move it up or down. I keep it at full. Even at night, it's not distracting. The way I'd position it is I want to make sure that if my head is all the way back, I can still see it. If I'm leaning a little forward, I can still see it. You might have noticed, compared to other cars, there is a big gap between the headrest and your actual head where you keep it while driving. The reason for that is the car is obviously a sports car. It's designed to be driven on the track. So you're probably wearing a helmet. And if you're wearing a helmet, this is in the perfect position. But generally speaking, if you rest your head back there, it's way back for being comfortable while driving. So right now I'm in my mode, and if you can see, I can see my oil temperature on the left top, my transmission fluid temperature, the mileage on the car so far, the coolant temperature, my fuel gauge, and the trip meter. You can customize whether you want to see the oil temperature or something different, and also you can customize the transmission fluid if you want to see something else in my mode. The way you do that is on the right side of your steering wheel, you have these buttons. So you scroll to the right over there, the menus change. You have to move over all the way to options. Here you can choose display design, so you can change it to how you want it. I keep it at the sports mode, but you could keep my mode to show like the track display, which only has the RPMs at 4 tiles rather than 2 tiles that show the oil and transmission for your my mode. So my mode is really customizable in that way. So I keep it at link to driver mode. The next option is info tile selections. The best way to do that is deselect all of the options and then select the ones that you want. See, if I scroll without deselecting, it just directly jumps to the ones that are selected. So you could deselect all of them and then choose the ones that you want. You have your battery voltage, your follow distance. I think follow distance is useless because this car doesn't have adaptive cruise control. So it still detects the follow distance. But what's the point if it's not going to automatically follow? The only thing is when it's going to show up a logo that there's a car in front on the top right corner. And this is for a 2024 model C8. Your fuel economy, I don't know if you're worried about it. Yeah, you can. The next one being your lateral G-forces. On a my mode, I don't use it. Oil pressure, I don't use that either, but I do care about the oil temperature because I like to really baby the car until it's up to 150 degree Fahrenheit for the oil temperature. Then you have your time and temperature on the outside. You have your tire status, which would either tell you whether it's cold, cool, normal, or warm. And then you have transmission fluid. So I keep the transmission fluid because I like the transmission fluid to be warm enough before really changing gears on higher RPMs too. So I like it to be around the 150 Fahrenheit mark before I really step on it. And because I selected these two, it's not giving me more options, but no, that was the last option. So these are the two tiles selected. Now, if you keep the track mode, you get 4 tiles that you can choose from. So you might know YouTube doesn't really consider you to be a content creator or anything really until you reach 1,000 subscribers. So right now we're at about 228. I'm really appreciative of all those guys that have subscribed and watch my channel and like my videos. If you like this content or would like to continue to see more content like this, I request you to please subscribe, and YouTube starts considering me something. I do plan on going to the Cleveland Auto Show probably this weekend, and once the weather opens up, I would be going out to car meets, taking you guys along and covering those as well. So if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Now, back to the video. Now, if you keep the track mode, you get 4 tiles that you can choose from. I have that on my Z mode, and I customized my Z mode to be full track spec. I don't know why, but I kept it like that. So it's an easy click of a button right here. I get into Z mode and I have 4 tiles now. The car is switched off. So 0 PSI pressure for the oil. I get the tires. I still get on the left side, which is the transmission fluid temperature. Right next to it is the oil temperature. And at the bottom is, and that's standard for all the modes, is the coolant temperature. But you could change that on the info tile selection as you please. So the other customization related to the gauge cluster, if you have a 2LT or higher, you can also customize your heads-up display. I showed you earlier in the video how you can do it from the buttons on the left side, but you could also program it to your modes or to your display screen. I told you I like it on the sports mode, so I keep it the same on my mode as well as on Z mode. And the way I have it programmed is for regular driving, I keep it on my mode, especially on the highway, because if it's in Z mode, it doesn't like to go up in gears, and obviously that affects your fuel economy and the car's louder. I prefer it on my mode. The car sound is maximum, but the engine performance is 1 notch down. The steering is 1 notch down, and the brakes are 1 notch down. The reason for that, it's regular driving. I don't want the steering to be super tight or the brakes to be really sensitive. So I like to drive normally in my mode, but if for some reason I'm feeling the need to be a little quicker or have more responsive steering, I press the Z mode, which has everything, and I get this display with all the gear temperature and the tires as well. And if you're using the track setting, you can modify your tachometer. You can either have that bar or you could change it to numerical. For some people that might be useful. For me, I like to see the bar to know when to shift. I do use the pedal shifters. I just enjoy driving it that way. Speed warnings, who needs that? Units, tire pressure. So you could reset your tire pressures here. You could hit relearn. So the head-up rotation is the heads-up display. If it's crooked one way, you could change it based on the horizontal axis. You could tilt it either way you want. And then the software licenses, and the last one being reset to default. That's how I have my gauge cluster and heads-up display set up. Based on your preferences, you could choose however you want it to be, but that's something that I wanted to show you, and a few more features that I'm going to show next. So right here where the e-brake is your brightness for your gauge cluster as well as your infotainment screen. So you could scroll to the right to brighten it, scroll to the left to dim it. One cool feature, especially if you're driving at night and you find these screens distracting or the glare on the screen is something that you don't prefer, what you could do is move it all the way to the left and hold it there. What it would do is it would black out everything. It would only show the important information like your fuel, your speed, and probably your gear. I'm not sure. I can't do it right now because the car can sense that it's still not dark outside, so it wouldn't do that. It has to be in dark. The car should be able to see that it's night, and then it would activate that feature. One thing that did catch me by surprise was this is a 2LT, so it does have the upgraded 16 speaker system in it, and I listened to music not so loud, and I was like, yeah, it's all right. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary, and it's cool. But if you really want to feel what the upgraded sound system does, you have to really go past half the volume to feel the difference. And that's when you go like, okay, now I see what I'm paying for. Now the 16 speakers make sense. So if you feel that, oh yeah, it's cool, it's all right, and it's not outstanding, do make sure to listen it over half volume, and that's where it really shines. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I am planning on going to the Cleveland Auto Show probably this weekend. I'll take you guys along and cover as much as I can. I am looking for a new car for my wife, and I'm in the market, so I would like her to see all the options. Probably not going to go brand new, but still it would give some idea of the brands that she wants to go with.